Hi there, my name is Scott from Samos Surf Photography. In case you haven't visited my channel before, I'm a surf photographer based on the Gold Coast of Australia. For those of you who have followed me before, you'll see that this is something new that I've started up for my channel and my social media accounts. I'm going to start doing little tutorials about things which I've learnt over the years, and photography is one of those sort of things that if someone tells you they know everything about photography, they're telling you lies. You never really learn everything about photography. You're always continuously learning. You get a lot better over the years at what you're doing, and you never really learn everything. You know, you shoot all the time, and every day you can go out, you can learn something new about settings, about the light, about angles, about how the sun can hit the camera, how you can reduce shade, make better colour in pictures, sharpness in pictures. There's all a whole heap of things. You never stop learning, so you just get better at it as you go along. So I've decided to do a couple of these videos, and they're basically going to be little things that I've learnt over the years, and some camera tips and tutorials, camera reviews, lens reviews, and just a bit of general information of stuff that I've learnt that I'd like to pass on some information to people that might help them in their camera photography journey. When I started back in, I think, about 2012 now, so that's about 9 years ago, coming up on 10 years, a lot of stuff was guarded secrets. You'd ask around and nobody would help you. Nobody would give you any advice. They all thought, well, I'll give him advice, you know, he might end up better than me. And I think that's just garbage. I couldn't get any advice out of what camera was a good camera to buy, what wasn't a good camera to buy, what brand I should buy, which is obviously a personal thing. But if you just had a little bit of a guiding to send you in this way or stay away from that because that's not really good, it'd help you a lot of people out. You know, it's a very expensive hobby to get into, so you don't want to be buying crap. You know, that's not going to help you out. It's only going to hinder your performance and your journey through this photography thing that can be so enjoyable. So I've decided to start doing these videos to give people information that'll help them along their journey, to help them, you know, pick what's a good camera, what's a bad camera, what's a good lens, what's a bad lens. And for some of you, what I think's a bad lens might actually be for you a good lens. I don't know everything, and I'm just trying to give a little bit of advice that I've learned over the years of what I could maybe help you with or give you a little bit of advice with. So this first one I've decided to do is basically the most common question I get inboxed to my Facebook page and to my Instagram page. And it's usually by a lot of young kids, probably 70–80% of them are young kids, and the 20% that might message this are actually adults. And it's something that I think every photographer will admit they probably did it and it happened to them. If they're saying that they didn't do it and it didn't happen to them, well, then they're very lucky, and they obviously learnt and maybe researched more than what I did and didn't make the mistake that I made. And this is a tutorial tip on formatting cards. It's the most important thing in photography that you really should learn immediately. Not formatting a card can lead to all sorts of problems, whether it be a GoPro, which the formatting problem will be a lot worse with a GoPro, which I'll inform you of a little bit into this, and a DSLR camera. This is my old first DSLR camera. I bought a 650D. It won't happen as often with a DSLR camera, but it will happen. It's just a matter of when. It happens to everybody. I'll put my hand up. It happened to me. I didn't know that you had to format cards. I just thought you bring your card home, you put it in your computer, you download all the files, you delete all the files, you put the card back in the camera, and off you go. That's not how it works. A lot of people will do that and say they've never had a problem, and they probably might not have had a problem yet, but one day they are going to have a problem because it happens. It's a way that a camera works. Now, if you don't know what formatting a card is, which I didn't know until about a year after I'd been doing photography, when you format the card in the camera, it's basically like a digital handshake between the card and the camera. Now, a lot of younger viewers won't understand this, but a lot of my older viewers over the age of maybe 30 might understand it. It's like having a cassette that you recorded music off the radio. So when you get a cassette, a blank cassette, and it's brand new, and you record a song off the radio, it sounds really good. Now, the more songs you record off the radio on that cassette and record over what you've already recorded on it, the sound quality will go down and down and down. And eventually, if you record, I don't know, I'm making this figure up, 1,000 songs or so, the sound quality will sound like absolute garbage compared to the very first song that you recorded on that blank cassette. Now, the image quality doesn't really change because we're talking digital and we're not talking analog like the old cassettes. So because the card is digital, the picture quality won't degrade. What will happen is, and this is just for example, with the GoPro, you'll have, when your screen's on, you'll end up, if it happens to you, you'll have a red bar across the top here and it'll say SD card error. Now, when that comes up, it's either because there's something wrong with the camera, there's something wrong with the card, which usually either of those two might not be able to be fixed. It's usually a broken issue. 95% of the time, it's because you haven't formatted the card. Probably even 99% of the time, it's because you haven't formatted the card. So, as I said, like the cassette, if you just delete all your files in your computer, once you've downloaded them, and put the card back in, you're basically trying to record over the equivalent of trying to record over the top of files that you've already got in there. So what you need to do is you need to format the card to have the digital handshake between the card and the camera. Right. Now, it will also work in another way with GoPros where the camera will freeze up altogether. It might not come up with the SD card error. The camera will just freeze, and none of the buttons, when you push them, they might beep, they might not beep, but when you push the on and the off and the shoot, nothing will work. That's also a problem because you haven't actually formatted the card. Now, GoPro really should have an instruction booklet and tell that, because a lot of people will blame GoPro and say, oh, the camera's garbage, and they'll bag the camera saying it was rubbish, and really it was user fault because you didn't actually format the card. A lot of GoPro user groups, some of them think they're all professionals. You get the odd one that'll argue with you don't need to format card, and the problem's never happened to me. It's not a case of if it's happened, it's going to happen, and when it's going to happen. And it will happen. It happened to me, and it happens to nearly every photographer I've ever known. It's worse with a GoPro than it is compared to a DSLR. Now, say if you're doing a professional shoot, whether you're doing a wedding photography shoot, a baby shoot, a band shoot, paid surf photography shoot, the last thing you want is to have that happen when someone's coming at you, say, in a smoking barrel, or you're taking a photo when the bride and groom are about to kiss. You don't want this failing, and you don't want that failing. So the answer is format the cards in both. So to add on a bit more to that, when I do paid photography shoots like a wedding shoot, a band shoot, a baby photography shoot, or whatever, anything that's paid, I'll tend to take a handful of cards with me, like 6 cards or so, and I will change cards throughout the shoot. So if, say for example, I take 6 cards, you'd be very lucky to have one card get corrupt. But just say you were shooting with one card only, and for some reason you had a memory card fail, that's the whole shoot down the drain. And if it's a wedding or something like that, which is very important, although any paid photo shoot is important, you would have basically stuffed it all up, all corrupted files, and you give your business a bad name. So I tend to change cards. I'll only use the card once for a section of the photography shoot. I'll put in a new card, format the card, use that for a section of the shoot, take it out, put in a new card, format it. Now, the only thing you have to be careful there is you don't mix your cards up, because you don't want to do some of the shoot and then format it and it wipes out all you have. So I have 2 separate containers for my cards, written on it used, new. So when I take one out that I've used, it goes in the used box, and then I grab one from the new box. That's just the only thing you have to be careful of there. So by formatting all the cards, like I mentioned in this tutorial here, it'll really help you stop getting that problem where you have the SD card error, which is the most common message that a lot of young GoPro users message me. The occasional DSLR person has messaged me that, where say they went straight to a DSLR and never used a GoPro and never learnt that lesson first using the GoPro. It's a very easy thing to not know. A lot of people don't tell you that. There's no footage instructions anywhere from GoPro telling you that, and they really should have that somewhere, because a lot of people say, oh, my GoPro's crap, my GoPro's rubbish, it keeps freezing, it keeps having error cards, I got a new memory card, the error message still come up. Well, the whole problem was that they never formatted the card. It's user error. Not all of us did it. I'll put my hand up. I did it when I first learnt, and I bagged GoPro, but it was user error. And 99.9% of the time, it's going to be a user error. If you format the card, you won't have that problem. If you go into some of these photography groups, GoPro photography groups, you get a lot of experts in there, and they'll tell you that, you don't have to do that. It shouldn't be, GoPro doesn't tell us to do that. You have to do it. It's just the way it is. It's a camera, and the formatting of a card, it is basically a digital handshake between a card and the camera. It's the reason I've done this is the first video tutorial one that I'm doing is because it's a common mistake that everybody's going to make. I made it. Everybody makes it when you're a newbie, and I just thought this was the best tutorial, first one to put up, which will help everybody. So you won't have those mistakes. You won't have your card freeze out in the water, and you might have someone famous coming at you, flying at you in a barrel, maybe your best mate in a barrel, and you push the button and your camera freezes, or you get error, SD card error come up, and you lose that footage, and it really sucks when it happens. If you do, for example, forget to do it one day, and for any other reason that your GoPro freezes out in the water, you have the top button on the top, which is the fire button, and the on-off button. Now, if you hold those down, both together at the same time, for about 5 to 10 seconds, it will reset the camera. Not all the time, it's a GoPro thing, but about 95% of the time, it'll reset the camera. So you just hold them down, so it'll be frozen, the screen, everything freezes, hold it down, 5 to 10 seconds. If it works, which it does 95% of the time, you'll hear it beep, and then the camera will fire back to life, and you can keep going again. Again, if you've also forgotten to format your card, and you've gone out in the surf, and you get the red line across the top with the SD card error comes up, and you go, oh shit, I forgot to format the card. Okay, it won't help you all the time, but it will help quite a lot. You just turn the camera off, turn it back on, and you should be able to shoot again for a while. Having said that, with the GoPro 8, it will go for quite a while. The GoPro 6 can freeze again straight away, or get the error up there again straight away. But if you keep turning it on and off and you're out in the surf, you might get away with it without having to come in, taking the card out, putting a new card in, because you can't format it out in the surf. You can, but you'll lose all the footage you just had of what you've already captured. So that's what you can do if you get out in the surf and it happens to you. So I'll set my cameras up here and I'll show you how we do it, and explain how to format all the cards. And once you format the cards in the camera, hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll never have that problem again. I've got a selection of cameras here. This one here is the GoPro 6. This one here is the GoPro 8. This is a DSLR camera. And this one here that I'm holding is a GoPro 9. So I'll show you how to edit these three. And then I'll have to take this camera off and film it with another camera to show you how to edit the GoPro 9 that I'm holding here. So this is the GoPro 6. Okay, so when you have the screen up like that, you basically scroll down and your bottom selection there says Preferences. Don't know if that's going to be out of focus or not, but you hit the Preferences and then you simply scroll all the way to the bottom till you get the last 3 lines come up, and the very top one will say Format SD card. So you hit the Format SD card, and then another screen comes up, and you hit the delete button. Then that one starts deleting, which is actually formatting the card. When it formats the card, it'll delete all the images at the same time, so you don't have to go and delete all your images separately. But formatting it will do that anyway. I sometimes like to do it twice, just so as I know it's done. That's just the GoPro 6 only. Sometimes they've had a little bit of a issue there where you have to hit it twice before it actually works. So I do it twice. And there it is there. Now you just press the side button and that one takes you back out of there and back to your main screen. This one here is the GoPro 8. So you get that screen up. You basically scroll down. You look in the middle there, you'll have preferences. Hit the preferences. Slide all the way till it won't slide anymore. And right down the bottom here, you have reset. Hit the reset, and then another screen pops up with 3 lines. The very top one is Format SD card. So you just hit the Format SD card, and it'll come up with 2 here at the bottom, cancel or in red format. So format's what we want to do. You hit the format, and it's formatting. I've found with the GoPro 8s, you only ever have to do those once. It always does it first time, whereas the GoPro 6 could be a little bit technical, and sometimes you had to do it twice. That's all done. So once again, you hit your side button and you just go back to the main menu. Now DSLR cameras work the same. You won't have the same issue with them having the problems I mentioned earlier with the GoPros, where the GoPro will either come up with a red bar along the top of the screen where it says SD card error. It'll come up along the top, or otherwise it freezes altogether. The GoPro 6s are really renowned for it. The GoPro 5s did it, 7s did it. The 8s will do it from time to time. It's one of those things, it doesn't happen all the time, but it's going to happen. And if you're doing a paid shoot, and say you don't format your cards, you'll end up doing a shoot one day. You might do 100 shoots and it'll work perfectly, but then you'll do one shoot and you'll come home and you won't be able to open up any images because the files are all corrupted because you didn't format the card. So it doesn't happen all the time with the GoPros, but it happens more times than it happens with a DSLR. So this is the DSLR camera. This is just my old one of my first DSLR cameras I bought. The other two I've got hidden away in my safe, so I'll just try it on this one. So you hit the menu button, and in Canon cameras, the section you need to look for is basically the yellow section. So you see how the writing there's the lines and that are green, and then we've got the yellow. So you'll scroll through until you get to this one, and it'll say format card, and you select, and this one will actually say there's no card in the camera because I don't have a card in the camera, sorry, but that's how you do it. I'll just go back to the menu again, and I hope that shows up and it's not all blurry, but you'll see it, format card, and you hit your set or you select or whatever your model camera has, and that will format the card for you. I've read horror stories of people doing wedding photography shoots and they didn't format the card, got home and weren't able to open any of the photos. All the photos files were all corrupted, so you really don't want that happening. Okay, so this one here is my GoPro 9. I've had to change over cameras because I was actually filming the video on this one. So to format this card, you have your screen up, you swipe down, swipe to the left, you'll see preferences on this side, hit the preferences, scroll all the way down, and you'll see where it says reset, and then it says format SD card. So hit the format SD card, and then it comes up with cancel and written in red format. Hit the format on the right hand side, and there you go, it's formatting. So it's a pretty easy thing to do, formatting the cards. Now I've shown you how to do it on all the cameras. So there we have it. That's all the camera cards formatted and how you do it. Very simple, quick process, and something like, as I obviously mentioned in this video. It's very important, it needs to be done. I hope that helped everybody out. Maybe you learnt something if you're new photography and never knew what it was. So I'll see you next time in a future upcoming tutorial. If you have any questions or queries about this one, just chuck a comment down below and I'll see you in our next post. Cheers!